All right. Good evening. Good evening, Los Angeles Chargers fans, Rams fans. Let's get you all in here. LAFB After Dark. Excited to talk day 6 camp. So we'll wait just a minute as people trickle in to the show. Appreciate you all. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Tuesday evening thus far. So yeah. Good things by both teams, I think, today. Both the Rams and the Chargers. So we're going to get into all of it. Keep it kind of brief. Not going to lie to you, I was pretty exhausted. And I was like, do I want to really jump on there right now? I was like, you know what? I made a commitment. I said I was going to do it. I said after Rams practice, I've gone home tonight. And then I got home. I was like, let's do 9:30. So I couldn't bail on that commitment. So we'll power through. Got myself my nightcap. Hopefully you guys have one too if you're drinking. If not, good for you. Probably healthier. But yeah, we'll start with we'll do a little Chargers camp talk first. We'll just go in order of the way the practice goes, and then we will jump over to and finish with Rams camp. So let me send this out to the universe real quick, and then we'll get chatting. But yeah, comment in the chat in the comments if you have any questions, how you're doing, what you're drinking, say what up. Love to hear from you guys. So yeah. But crazy. We're already 6 days into training camp. Crazy it's going by that quick. But it's been long days. It's been exciting. I've been able to go to a ton. So I was there today at both camps again for day 6. So Chargers was no pads. Not sure if that was due to their snafu yesterday by wearing pads half the practice. And then what's up, my man, Will? What's up, baby? How you doing? And then figuring out the league, they can't wear pads yet. So then they took them off halfway through practice. I don't know if they didn't wear them today because of that, or if they were already scheduled. They were going to do like a Monday pad, Tuesday no pad, Wednesday pad. So I know Staley in his press conference yesterday afterwards even said that their plan all along is to do, 2 padded days, 1 unpadded day. So it may have been scheduled anyway. It may have been because of the mistake. But either way, Chargers are not in pads. So Tyron Johnson did not practice again. Ryan Smith did not either. I think they're just kind of nursing injuries, nothing major. We'll see if Tyron Johnson is back tomorrow. But he's, even just in the first week, I feel like he's done enough to kind of lock up a roster spot for sure. At this point, it's kind of a discussion of will he be wide receiver 3. That's kind of where he's battling for. But I think he's done enough last year and now early in camp, unless he just falls apart. But I think even this injury is not going to set him back. It might just, if anything, it'll hurt him in being wide receiver 3 on week 1. But a lot of season. What up, Steven? What up, my man? So if you're bored, dude, jump in here. I'll send you the link. Yeah, good practice overall. So I'll kind of go through little things that I noticed, little intricacies, observations that I saw. If you do have questions, please do let me know. But one thing I want to start with, and this is just me, trying to look at everything to get every little nuance or detail out there. And maybe it means nothing, but I like to look at groupings of positions and kind of who runs with who. Because I know when I played ball in high school, you kind of get I played receiver for those who don't know. And so you run with your grouping. So if you have, like, say, the varsity, you have your 3 varsity receivers and you have your 5 to 6 JV receivers. And then maybe you have, if depending on how your high school does it, your freshmen. Our freshmen didn't play with us, but usually you would have your varsity quarterback and then your 3 varsity receivers, like, do the drill first in individuals. And then the quarterback would swap when it gets like the JV receivers. And every now and then there'd be layover and mix, but especially if you're splitting sides, you kind of have the varsity and all the varsity guys over here with like the backup QB that would come in and maybe like some fringe JV guys. And then over here you have your true JV guys doing that. So I kind of look for stuff like that. And so what I noticed in the receiver drills is, in the main grouping that kind of always stayed together, because sometimes they'll rotate, go across the field, but they were always lining up together. You had Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, Jalen Guyton, and then Austin Proehl was the next, the fourth guy that was kept running in that group. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean he's in wide receiver 4, so I'm not reading into that hard. But I think it just shows, and I've talked about him a lot, and we'll probably talk about him more throughout this show. But it shows that he's made an impact in this camp, and not mostly from the receiving or from the return game standpoint. But I think he's done some stuff in 7-on-7s, in 11, team session, where he started to garner some attention as an actual receiver. So again, don't want to read too much in that, but just a note: he was running with the main guys. Allen, Williams, Guyton, and him were the main guys catching balls from Herbert. So another thing that I noticed throughout camp that I actually kind of enjoyed is, as I just mentioned, usually you have, Justin Herbert, whether it's in individuals, 7-on-7s, or team session, they'll do their session with the ones, and then they'll put in the twos, and then they'll put in the threes. It's pretty standard, right? Today was the first time I really noticed that they kept Herbert out there. They had him basically on like a 10 to 11 play sequence, and then they would rotate the receiver still. So there was a few plays where he was with the third grouping of receivers. And why I think I actually like that is because in a season, in a team, a franchise, a sport where there's a lot of injuries, and we've talked all about the receiving game, timing is super important. And if you never practice at all with your 5, 6, 7, they're not going to keep that many, but your 5 and 6 receivers, you lose a guy to go down there. That's a big deal all of a sudden when your sixth receiver now becomes a starter or in the rotation. So I actually liked that I saw it. They were having Herbert just on like a 7, 8, 9, 10 play set, and they would rotate the receivers in to get reps for them. Also, it's good for them, obviously, catching the ball from QB1. So I thought that was interesting too. Let's see here. Let's stick with the offense. So running back wise, Steven did a really good article, if you're still in here, Steven, on the LAFB network about this new Lombardi system and what he's bringing from New Orleans and some things maybe we can expect and see. Kind of just really breaking it down for Chargers fans, what the Saints offense does and what this Chargers offense can become in light of that. It's not going to be, it's not going to be the Saints 2.0, but there's definitely going to be stuff taken from it for sure, because, they've had a very successful offense for almost a decade. And one of the big things is how involved the running backs are in the passing game and not just out of the backfield. So Austin Eckler, we know how great he is receiving the football. Just 2 years ago had almost 1,000 and 1,000 or whatever his stats were. But I was noticing in 7-on-7s, it's like, they really want the running backs to be involved. And I think that's going to be huge for this running back competition as we look at Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson, and Larry Roundtree, Larry Roundtree's a lock to make the team, just being drafted. But who's going to be running back 2? Who's going to not make the cut? And I think it's going to really come down to, in my opinion, others may disagree, but I think it's going to come down to who really can catch the rock out of the backfield. And not just in swing routes and little screen passes, but can actually run routes, split outside, can run crossers over the middle. I think if you watch the Saints offense, obviously we know Alvin Kamara, what he can do. You see wrinkles with, the Carolina Panthers. I know it's a different offense, but you see Christian McCaffrey do that as well. Austin Eckler can absolutely be that back. Joe Lombardi's called Austin Eckler that he can be that back, that similar style. But in order to do that, you have to be able to split out with side. So I was noticing that in the team session in the very beginning of camp. I love Chargers, how they do it, how they just they go like team session, they go to like different drills, back to team session, different drills. It's very nuanced. There's no wasted motion. But right after that, they went into a drill on our side of the field, and then they had all the other players on the other side. But they kept the running backs and linebackers. And they weren't doing like, Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma's a running drill, but they weren't doing the lineup like that where the running backs, split back behind the quarterback. They had it where the running back was split out wide or I guess technically he would have been in a slot if you're really being technical, because a linebacker wouldn't probably cover him out wide. But, and they were running routes, not little wheel routes or swing routes or little screens. They were running legit patterns. And so it's funny that right when I tweeted something out like that, and then you see it come to fruition. And I think that just shows how important that's going to be for this running back competition, who can do that. We know Austin Eckler can do it. Josh Kelly, I thought, actually looked very good. I don't think that was not his game at UCLA. They had Demetric Felton. That was what Demetric Felton's role was when Josh Kelly was the main back for the Bruins. But I thought, he had 2 successful plays against Kenneth Murray, beat him both times for big gains. Obviously, it's one-on-one, so every game's going to be fairly good, but beat him both times. Justin Jackson, I thought, looked okay. Larry Roundtree looked pretty good as well. Looked crisp running his routes. Hands were looking good. So yeah, that one drill I wouldn't take like, okay, this guy's leaps and bounds above, but that's something I think that's going to set the tone now for the rest of camp of what we want to look for with these running backs, because until they're really putting bodies on bodies and hitting, which I don't think they're going to do much of, to be honest, just knowing where Brandon Staley has come from, I don't think they're going to do much live hitting. I mean, they're going to go full speed, but they're not going to be full wrap up, full tackle. So it's really hard to judge which running back to cut based on not even getting tackled. Like, you obviously are looking at the vision. You're looking at, do they know the playbook? Are they picking up the correct blocking assignments in pass pro? But then if you can see how they catch out of the backfield and how they can run routes, then that is really going to open the eyes, I think, for some of the coaching staff, and to see who they're going to keep, who they're going to move to number 2. Yeah. Here we go. Question here. So the rookies were looking good today, I hear. Can you elaborate? From G Flores. Thank you for the question. Yeah, okay. So let's start with, I'll kind of go down. I mean, again, not in pads. So Rashawn Slater looked fine, but hard to really judge based on not being in pads. So he looked good. Asante Samuel Jr., I think, had one of his best camps. I think he looked really good. Or one of his best practices of camp, I should say. Yesterday was a really good day for him as well. He's getting more and more reps with the ones. He's still getting a ton of reps with the twos. They're having him on the field a ton. I talked about yesterday when I was live with Dan Wade about Brandon Staley's talked about how they're giving him so much to learn, so much to consume, that there should be no concern about him not being the starter on the outside with the ones, because he's just learning so much. The versatility, he's learning safety sets, he's learning nickel sets, dime sets, money, star, all these different packages. But he's just picking it up now. I mean, we are 6 days in and he looks a lot more comfortable. So we all know he's talented. We know what he can do physically wise. We know he's a smart player, cerebral player. So now it's just getting that all coming together and being comfortable with the plays being called. But I thought he looked really good, had some really good pass breakups in red zone drills. So look good. Josh Palmer, I wouldn't say had a great day, nothing bad or concerning. I think he was targeted once or twice, and I believe both were broken up, not like a drop or anything like that, but both were good plays with the defense. I think one by Asante Samuel, one by Brandon Faison, if I'm not mistaken, in the end zone. So, but Palmer looked fine. McKitty is still, progressing. He's they're really using a good rotation with these tight ends, which I think I like them to do that. I mean, obviously you have your unquestioned starter in Cook, but they're putting Donald Parham in there. They're putting Trey McKitty in there. They're putting Steven Anderson. Steven Anderson's getting a lot of work, actually, especially in wheel routes and stuff out of the backfield. So, but yeah, McKitty's looked fine as far as I can tell. And then they're, as I would think, they're going to keep 4 tight ends at this point. Let's see here. Where we getting down on the rookies? Mark Webb is the other one coming to mind. Looked good again. He's getting so aside from his duties, with the second team playing safety on special teams, he is getting reps as like the H-back, if you will, and punt. So he's the one basically lined up behind the center and kind of calling the snap. Obviously not the quarterback, but the guy that's in between the center and the punter, calling out the package or the punt formation, and then calling out the snap. So, we all knew he was going to be a special teamer anyway. I thought that was an interesting spot for him to be. But that's where he was lining up today. Him and Joe Reed were actually getting reps at that spot, at that position, which maybe Joe Reed's done before. I haven't noticed ever. Maybe I'm just never looking at that position. But yeah, so rookies overall I thought looked good. Nothing bad, nothing of the group. Asante Samuel, I think, had the best day, but that's not to say the other guys didn't have good days. So sticking, I guess, since we brought up special teams, Austin Prohl again is your lead horse. It's down to 3 now, from what I could tell, in a punt return. You got Austin Prohl, you got a Michael Gandy, and then you got KJ Hill. All 3 looked fine. Austin Prohl, you can tell, is still the one. He's getting the first reps, getting the most reps. When they're actually doing live punt, he was the first one to get the catches. Only one drop today for the whole group, and it was actually Austin Prohl. But it was a really short punt that he was running full speed to fair catch. Still a drop, so absolutely, but it was I don't want to say a muffed punt, but it was or a muffed kick, but it was miskicked. So one of those you would just let Peter in an actual game because he ran like 35 yards to try to go get it. But yeah, KJ Hill did look more comfortable, so that's exciting because you really want this. You as much as I'm big on the Austin Prohl train, and I really think he's going to be the guy and make this team. I 100% think that, but you don't want him to be. I was saying in day 2 he was the leader, which he was, but you don't want it to be set in stone by day 2 because that just means everyone else was that bad. So you want it to be a competition to keep pushing each other, improving. And I think they're doing that. So, and I don't know if Tyron Johnson will take reps again once he's back out there, or if they'll be done with that and stick with these 3 for the rest of camp. But Austin Prohl, another really good day. I mentioned already that he had some good in teamwork. He had a touchdown, a toe tapper. It was in red zone work, but it was an outside out route right to the not to the deep corner, but the short corner. So right in the pylon, a great a pass from the Easton Stick, I believe, and just toe tapped right inside the pylon. The whole, all the offense started chanting "Pro, Pro, Pro." So it's becoming a team favorite, which is cool. It's that XFL blood, I think. It's just that pride of having to go through the XFL and now on another NFL roster. So love to see it. Let's see here. It's not a ton more to touch on. I'll let's let me say this: in 7-on-7s, in red zone, and in team, the defense won the day overall. Offense had some good plays. There was one drive where the first team offense drove all the way down the field for a touchdown. Keenan Allen had 3, I believe, catches on that, and it was capitalized or capped off with a Mike Williams touchdown. So that was a very good drive. But red zone work, the defense had their number, man. They were all over the place. Brendan Faison's having himself a camp. He's having a really good camp. I know there's a lot of people probably were not pumped or happy hearing that he's the starter at the moment. But at this point, he deserves to be. I mean, he's had so many PBUs. He's in the right place at the right time. He looks physical, looks strong. He just looked really good. So in the red zone work, though, I need to do a better job of I need one of those bouncer counters. But I want to say the offense was 2 for 12 in the red zone, in that red zone drill. The defense played really, really well. And then 7-on-7s was a little more even, but I think the defense was still overall won the day. And then in the final team session, because they did a couple different team sessions throughout the day, but the final team session, the offense was able to drive down the field, score a touchdown, went back. The 2s came out. Easton Stick, they gave the opportunity today to run with the 2s. So it looks like they're going to kind of rotate with him, whether he's going to be with the 2s or 3s. They gave him the opportunity to be with the 2s today. I would say he did not seize the opportunity. They went 4 and out, and the final 2 plays were both batted down. So he didn't have any picks today, but didn't have nothing of excitement. Any completion was a short screen or an out route. Didn't really push the ball down the field too much. So yeah, I think at this point, Daniels is your clear QB2, and Easton Stick's going to need to make up some ground the rest of the camp in order to sustain a roster spot. I don't think they'll keep three quarterbacks this year. I know they've been doing that, kind of hoping Stick develops into something, but unless they're going to use him as some sort of gadgety player, I don't. Unless they're going to use him as a gadgety player, I don't see them keeping 3 QBs. He could still, save his job in camp and become that QB2 and beat out Daniels, but I don't see them keeping 3. So, last thing I'll kind of say about this Chargers day, and I don't like ending on negatives, but I just want to at least say what I saw. Herbert, I thought, had kind of an off day. I don't think Herbert had the best day, and not a horrible day, not any reason for concern. But I think since his astonishing rookie year and the type of player he is, the type of person he is, the type of leader he is, all good. And I'm always a positive guy, so I don't want to say this. I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but he's kind of been almost on this pedestal now where he can do no wrong, which he really hasn't done a lot of wrong. So that's a good thing. But today, I think he was, he had an off day, to just put it bluntly. Not a horrible day, like I said, but an off day. A couple missed time balls, overthrows, one hoppers, not setting his feet in the pocket. He overthrew Keenan on a wide open deep ball, which, it was like a 50-yard play. So you can't discredit him. Those are plays he usually hits. So, and just overthrew him by about 10 yards or so. So yeah, just a little off, probably just some tweaking, or just an off day of practice. Everyone has it. So, I did want to say that because I don't think really, I haven't seen anyone really talk about that. But we'll check in on that the rest of the week. Cause I've said kind of even a few times, I think when we were on with Steven, and then I may have said it yesterday with Dan that Herbert's at times looked, like the timing was off, maybe a little rust. I don't know. Again, nothing where you're like, oh, what's going on? Like, nothing like that, but something just like, just not as crisp as you'd like to see at this point in the camp, 6 days in, with the whole OTAs and the whole offseason. But, we'll get there. It's a new playbook, all that new stuff. That's what you have to remember, too. It is a new offense they're installing. So, yes, he had this phenomenal season, but they're, back to the drawing board almost doing this offense. So, but yeah, overall, good day at camp. I think the defense won the day, but, hit me up if you think of any other questions. I'm sure I did not get to a lot, but I was planning on spending about 15 minutes per team. And of course, I'm already about over 20 minutes in talking about the Chargers, and we still got to get to the Rams. So, Jeff, I do want to answer your question. Can you contrast Rams style training camp day versus a Charger style day thus far, since you're covering both? Vibe is Staley doing similar things as McVay. I guess I can just show it. Appreciate the question. It's a good question, and it's a good way to segue into talking about the Rams. They are similar in a sense. They're similar in a sense in that there's no wasted motion, no wasted time. When it's always, as soon as that horn moves, boom, they're starting their next thing, whether it's team session, going to individuals, even when they're doing special team stuff. You don't have guys, for the most part. Today, actually, the Rams did randomly, but most of the time they're in the camp. If they're doing field goals, the rest of the guys are doing something else. You're not just standing around watching, the kickers kick for 10 minutes, taking a break, do anything like that. So they take that hour and a half to 2 hours and utilize every single second, every single minute to get as much work in as possible, as much film that they can get, because they do so much classroom work once they get off the field as they prepare for the next day. A lot of it's mental. All the reps are mental. So, I think the similarities are that sense, just no wasted motion, a lot of mental stuff, not a lot of contact. I mean, we'll see if the Chargers continue that, but the Rams are going to have like no contact, like basically all camp. They just don't hit. Even when you do live full speed day, it's like you're not wrapping up and taking them down. And I know a lot of teams aren't doing that anymore, but some still do, or some at least will have a 1 day a week or something like that. Rams don't at all. I would expect the Chargers will probably follow suit in doing that, especially with, their 1 day last year they hit, and that's the day Derwin gets hurt. So I think even though Staley wasn't there last year, he'll probably take that and be like, yeah, we're not hitting. Yeah, the types of drills they do, very similar. How often they do team session is very similar. I would say so far this camp, the Chargers have spent a lot of more time on special teams. I don't know if that's a Staley thing or just the fact that he knew they had the worst special teams unit in the NFL. And so that's what they have to improve. So that is very different. The Rams thus far have spent very little time, I would say. Like today, I didn't notice any kicking and like return stuff. Whereas every day I've been at Chargers camp, there's some sort of return drills. So that's one difference, but I think that's partially just Rams having some continuity there. I know they need to find a new return guy, no more Simba Webster, but the Chargers are kind of like overhauling everything, the coaching staff, return game, all that. So, yeah, overall, very similar. The vibe is different in general. Just, I don't think you've been on here before, Jeff, but Rams camp is just like triple the size. I mean, they have bleachers, so it's still a double field set, but they have bleachers and a U all the way around. So you can walk around the whole thing. It's just a lot more people. I think every day there's been 8,000 to 10,000 plus. Saturday, probably way more than that. So maybe I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of people. Let's just say my numbers are probably exaggerating, but let's say if the Chargers was 3,000, the Rams would be like 8 or 9,000. And that's not anything against the Chargers, just the way it's set up, they can handle a lot more people, a lot more foot traffic. So the vibe in that sense is different. There's just a lot going on. So, but anyway, let's get into this Rams camp. It was a padded practice, the first padded practice for the Rams. They almost made the same mistake as the Chargers. They were scheduled to have a padded practice on Saturday, and then luckily right before changed the schedule and decided not to wear pads, rightfully so, because they would have been docked or fined or docked a practice day like the Chargers were. But anyway, so today they did go in pads. The biggest news coming out of Rams camp, if you don't know, now you know, was Matthew Stafford and his thumb. Yesterday, at the end of practice, hit his recently surgically repaired thumb on a lineman's helmet. Left practice, got kind of taped up, looked at, didn't come back out. And then, Twitter had a meltdown. Rams Twitter. Here we go. Trading all his assets for Matthew Stafford. Hits his thumb just like Goff did last year. He's going to be out. Is Walford ready? Are we, what's going to happen? Are we still going to all this stuff? And I saw a few tweets from Lions fans in like Rams fans mentions, basically saying like I remember my first beer, I think is what one guy said, essentially meaning relax. This guy plays literally through everything. Like he's been injured all throughout his career and yet hasn't missed he's missed like one game. Well, he had one season where he missed quite a few, but other than that one season, he's missed like no games in the last like 5 or 6 years or something like that. But has been healthy in all of them. So anyway, there is all that concern. And then, you get to camp today. It was expected, right? Or this morning it comes out that it was just a bruise or a contusion. No damage done, no ligament damage, no break or anything like that. So that was obviously justifiably huge sigh of relief. Let's try to get this camera focused again, huh? Huge sigh of relief. But you expect, okay, he's going to sit out 3 or 4 days. We're day 6 of camp. Let's not rush anything. Nope. Stafford's out there right in the beginning of camp. Warming up, taking some intermediate passes, taking some short throws. So you think, all right, he's just, seeing how he feels and, just kind of stretching out. Doesn't want to, sit in the locker room on the sideline. Still wants to be with the guys. It's his new team, new playbook, new fans, wants to just show face. No, he ended up playing the entire practice. Did not miss a single rep. Played on every team session, every 7-on-7 drill, all the individual drills. Didn't take any less snaps. It wasn't like he's like, okay, I'll take 1 or 2 snaps and then the Wolford take the bulk. No, he took as many, if not more snaps than usual sessions. So the thumb is fine, clearly. We were all hoaxed. Matthew Stafford plays through pain, plays through anything. If it's not falling off the bone, I guess. I wanted to find that video of him in Detroit. If you haven't seen it, I'll post it here soon. But he throws like right there, it's at the very end of the game, like seconds ticking down. Throws like a 40-yard pass to like the 2-yard line. In the process of throwing it, just gets driven into the ground. Gets up, you can see he's writhing in pain. His shoulder is just like out of socket or something. I think he's yelling like it's broke or something. But he knows he knows where the clock is and what's left in the game. So he's running down the field with his shoulder looking like it's in a sling. They get up, spike the ball. You can just see him like writhing in pain. Coaches are like, all right, come out. Like, and he's like, no, I'm staying in. Literally like snaps the ball. They score a touchdown. And then immediately he just like sprints to the locker room. I can't remember if it was a shoulder separation or break, but yeah, that just shows you the kind of player he is. Tough guy. And I don't think hitting a thumb on his helmet is going to stop him, even if you're only 6 days into camp. So, and better news is that even with the thumb and playing through it, he played through it well. Looked great. There's a few balls out there to Jacob Harris. Jacob Harris is much more involved today, so that's something I can report. After missing most of the camp, other than just like doing some individual stuff on his own. But he was out there today getting reps, running individual, running team. He's going to be a special player, man. They are obviously the team is excited about him, but you go out there and you watch him and you can see why. The size factor, the height, the catch radius, and then his athleticism on top of it. Sometimes you see guys that size And like, let's compare it this way. And I don't mean this in any disrespect, but Donald Parham, huge guy, solid player, has a good role for the Chargers, but I wouldn't call him like an athletic freak. Like, I don't think he's running like super crisp routes. Like, he knows his role, right? Like, he's a seam guy or a post guy, go up and get it, jump ball guy. Jacob Harris runs like he's Cooper Kupp, but he's got the size of Donald Parham and the catch radius of Donald Parham. So that's when you see that and you watch that in practice, even if it is just against air, you say, oh man, if this guy gets healthy, gets the playbook down, really gets his like legs under him as a rookie, he could have a special year as a rookie. He could really turn some heads, and especially in this offense that has so many weapons, so much potential, and you add that to the arsenal of a Matthew Stafford, watch out. And I think we saw that throughout the actual practice, because this defense, obviously you lose Brandon Staley to the Chargers, great coach. You lose John Johnson to the Cleveland Browns. You lose Troy Hill also to the Cleveland Browns. Those are your three major losses. And Michael Brockers, excuse me. It was Michael Brockers. Also, you traded him to Detroit. So you have some big losses there. But this was the number one defense last year. So you got to think, okay, you bring in Raheem Morris, you add some rookies, you have your depth guys still that were there last year under the system. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of a drop off, but this is still a top 5 unit. You still have Jalen Ramsey, you still have Aaron Donald, you still have your linebacking core, you still have Leonard Floyd, you still have Darius Williams, who you just tendered. So this is still a good defense, and they make plays out there. So it's probably because I'm an offensive guy too. So there's a little bias there. So I try not to be. There's a little bias there. But this offense just looks good. Like, this offense looks like what Sean McVay envisions when you see him talk about offense. What Stafford and Djax are doing 6 practices in. I mean, Djax could have a 1,000-yard season. And when he was, obviously health permitting, but let's not be negative Nancy's here and excuse or expect for injuries. What we're seeing so far, what he's doing against this defensive secondary that is so deep and talented, I think one of the top secondaries in the NFL, they have 2 to 3 deep bombs every practice, whether it's Djax, Woods, or Kupp. Every single one. One of those 3 guys is getting behind the secondary and scoring a touchdown. Stafford's ball placement, perfect. Djax stretching the field is exactly what we talked about all off season. He's going to be able to do. Oh, and guess what? Tutu Atwell hasn't even practiced yet. He's been on COVID. So I get a little fired up because this offense is going to just wait till you guys see it. And we won't see it all in training camp, or excuse me, in preseason, because McVay does not play the ones. So you're going to have to wait till week 1 against Chicago. But I am pumped against Chicago, notoriously a good defense, and I want to see this offense put up a 40 spot, a 40 burger in the first week. Would love to see it. So, Jorge, Dyrud after dark. I like that. I don't know how I didn't think. I'm the king of alliteration. I love alliteration. I don't know why I didn't think of Dyrud after dark. Well done. And Flores, thank you for the compliment. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. So we try to work hard here and do what we got to do, but hopefully just giving you guys good insight if you were not able to make it to camp. So Jorge asked, Djax getting old. He is 35, I believe, or he's 34, turning 35. So in terms of wide receiver years, yes, he is old. He is old, but you watch him out there right now, he looks young. He looks like a 29-year-old running around out there. And again, it's August 3rd. So it's a long season. I don't want to let my hype get in the way of reality that this is a player who has had injuries. This is a player who come November, we'll see if the wheels are still turning as well as they are right now, but it's August, so we can get excited. We're not saying it's guaranteed he's going to do this, but you see what he's doing right now and you see how he fits in this offense, and you see that's why they drafted Tutu Atwell. So Djax can have 5 plays a game. 10 plays a game. He doesn't need to be in there for 25 plays. He doesn't need, unless you're using him as a decoy, he's not going to be in there on designed run plays. Unless he's in there to stretch the field so that Hendo has more space, but he's not going to be in there blocking or doing anything like that. Like, his role is very, nearsighted. We know what it is, and he's going to do it to a T and do it well. So excited about the offense. If you go to my Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB, I posted quite a few videos of some of those deep passes from Stafford, from Walford, who has thrown a good ball today as well. Yeah, so like we had a Stafford TD to Kupp a deep, probably 50 air yards or so, probably a 60-yard touchdown to Kupp. The very next play, it's a high shotgun snap. Stafford kind of bobbles it with his hand, not really bobbles it, but like catches it with one hand, immediately sets his feet and hits like a 25-yard post route to Robert Woods. So it's just things like that. We're like, this is what we've been missing. This is what this offense has been missing. That charisma, that say droit, I guess, if you will, of just, being able to throw the football with ease. And we've seen it now with the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and now we can see with the Rams with Matthew Stafford for what he's doing. So, the Rams camp today was literally like all team session. It was run. That's why I don't know if Jeff is still in here, but he asked to compare Chargers and Rams camp. Today was a very different one. And maybe it was just because it was the first pads day, but they did literally their individual drills, obviously warm-ups to do that, went straight to team session, did team for 30 minutes, then they did some field goal kicking, and then back to team session. And then that was like it. So as a fan, it was great. And obviously they're getting work in. They want to just get the chemistry down and get the playbook down. But it was all team stuff. So as I've been talking about on all of these live sessions, the groupings and pairings on defense remain the same. So Justin Hollins is your starting outside backer right now alongside Leonard Floyd. Again, that can change, but as of now, Justin Hollins is your starter. Which is crazy. No one talked about that in the offseason, but his size, his length, I know Raheem Morris loves that. And he does have a lot of athleticism, did some great things at Oregon. So I think it's, and then it gives time for Terrell Lewis to stay healthy, get his legs under him. And then Obo, I think we've learned enough in his career here in LA. Obo is a better situational guy. I don't think he's expected to be the starter. He's a guy, coming on NASCAR packages or specific things. So that is your rotation. Rapp and Fuller, your two starting safeties as of now, with Burgess rotating in. Burgess playing some nickel as well. You have David Long on the outside with Darius Williams, and then Jalen Ramsey is playing like all over the place, which is what we want to see. Jalen Ramsey is playing all over the field and looks as good as ever. If you guys haven't been to camp and you have a chance to go, just look for Jalen Ramsey. I mean, you can't miss him. And you will see what a big corner he is. Darius Williams is a fantastic corner, and I'm so glad they gave him the first-round tenor because he deserves it. He had like 4 pass breakups today. Here I am gushing over the offense, but the defense did make plays too. But Jalen Ramsey standing next to Darius Williams looks like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley standing next to each other. Jalen Ramsey is a huge corner. So, he's just fun to watch. Nick Scott had a interception off Stafford, actually. So Scott's been rotating in as well with the ones and safeties. And a lot of times you'll see the one offense go against the 2 defense and vice versa. That's standard. A lot of teams do that. So nothing rare there. But they kind of just, the Rams have been rotating a lot. So it's been one-on-ones, and they'll rotate a few different personnel groupings in. So Scott was, their safety. Burgess was running with Cooper Kupp, on basically a corner post route or a post corner route. And Nick Scott read it perfectly. So if you have the 2 guys, if I can do this with my camera. So say this is Kupp and Burgess. They're coming this way to the corner of the end zone. And Scott's over here. And he just read it perfectly and just undercut it, intercepted it. So it was a really good read. Read Matthew Stafford the entire time, looking in his eyes. Stafford didn't look it off. So that was a mistake on his part. And Nick Scott made the pick. So love Nick Scott. Huge special team guy. But he's making his name too on defense. And he did last year. I mean, he had to play some safety actually for some injured players. So he can do it. He can spell guys. He's never going to be your number 1 starter as a safety, but as a depth guy and a star special teamer, he's a very important piece of this team. And just a great human being, great leader. We had him on our show when he was drafted in the 7th round. What was it, 3 years ago now, out of Penn State. So super cool kid. Now I guess he's not really a kid anymore, but great play by him. So last thing I'll talk about really the Rams is, JJ Koski is a receiver that's looked really good in team drills. Him and Walford have kind of a nice connection. In the last team session with the 2s going, he had 2 catches on their drive. 2 really nice looking catches too. One was like an outside, right at the sideline toe tapper. So he's looked good. It's unfortunate because this Rams receiver room, you essentially have 5 players that are locked already. You have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Sean Jackson, and Tutu Atwell. You have your 5 receivers. Those are locked. So you're basically all these camp guys you're playing for one spot. And you have Jeremiah Hadel, walk-on, who's, the 3rd best returner in NCAA history, or not history, but last year out of Texas State. So he's the favorite to land maybe the return gig, but he hasn't showed out well at all as a receiver. And then JJ Koski's looked pretty good as receiver. They also have Tristan's look good as receivers. So that's something we'll watch these next few days, is how that wide receiver 6 spot. I don't know if you guys care about that or not, but who's going to be this final receiver? I don't think they'll keep 7. I mean, maybe they do just because of how deep they are and because of theirs, the injury history of Deshaun Jackson. So, but yeah, Koski's a guy I just want to at least shout out because he's had a good camp, had a really good day today. He'll have to string together a few more of those to make the squad, but at least, if anything, he can, continue this success and find himself on another team if need to, or for sure the practice squad. So, yeah, overall great day at Rams camp. The pads were on. You can always tell the competition level goes up a bit with the pads, even if they're not tackling and, fully wrapping up. But it brings out an energy that it's football. It's real football. It's not just shorts. So, RB1, Jeff, that's definitely Henderson, like without a doubt. I didn't even mention them, but Xavier Jones is right now, without a doubt, your number 2. He's looked really good as a number 2 back. I know McVay's talked very highly about him. Coach Thomas has talked very highly about him. He can do stuff out of the backfield with his hands as well, catching the ball. So, but Hendo's the clear number 1 right now. You can just tell the swagger. He just looks confident that he doesn't have anyone to split time with. Like, he is the number 1. And because of the style of running back he still will split carries. Not split, but I don't expect him to have 20 plus carries a game. I think he's more in that 15 carries is like a max. The 10 to 15 is probably more of a sweet spot with a few catches in there, and then get Xavier Jones in there for, 5 to 7 carries is kind of what I would expect, but we'll see. But yeah, Hendo's your number 1. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Jorge, you asked about Herbert and Lombardi's offense. You must have not been in here yet. Talked about it during the Chargers segment. Herbert, I think, has looked good overall, to say it really quickly. But today I did say I thought he struggled. It was probably one of his worst days, in my opinion, of camp. A few overthrows, but nothing, I don't think, that has anything to do with the system. Seems like he's picking up. It was just more not as crisp with his timing, with his throwing and stuff like that. But I think that the system he looks fine in. I do want to see some more success at the red zone. That's been the one, I think, concern I would have of this offense right now for the Chargers. That is the red zone offense. Every day I've been there has struggled. The defense is dominated in the red zone. And you're not running the ball truly. So obviously that it takes a whole approach out of it when it's a pass. So obviously but one-on-one, mano-a-mano, corners are beating the receivers, safeties are beating tight ends, and running backs. So want to see, I don't know if there needs to be a little more creativity in there. The route combinations are just not working, or just get excited because this is a really good defense. Sometimes it's just chalk it up to that. Let's just give our hats off to a great secondary. But yeah, quick answer for you, Jorge. But Herbert, I think, has looked totally fine. Today struggled a bit, but I don't think it's anything to do with the system. Just some crispness and timing issues. So, well, unless anyone has any final questions, Dyrud After Dark. I like that. I'm gonna patent that, Jorge. Appreciate you. Dyrud After Dark, or LAFB After Dark. But thank you all for tuning in. Let me give a cheers to you. We'll have continued coverage all camp long. If myself is not there, we usually have one of our guys, whether it's one of our podcasters, one of our beat writers. We have a great, awesome team here at the LAFB Network. So if this is the first time you guys are tuning into this video, first of all, appreciate you. Second of all, head to LAFBnetwork.com. You can check out all of our written content. We have, 7 podcasts on the site, one specific for each team, plus my own show covers all 4 teams, which includes the Trojans and Bruins. So hopefully you guys come back for more. And thanks for the compliments. You guys are making me blush. Appreciate it. But have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening. And we'll be back on tomorrow breaking down day 7. Looking forward to it. So appreciate you all. Have a great evening, and